Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Minnesota RØKKR co-stream for the Toronto home series. My name is Ashley, aka Midnight. I'm online here with Icon. What's up, Icon? How you doing?
Doing well. Excited to watch some Call of Duty again. It seems like it's been a while since we had a week off.
I know, like we literally had so much Call of Duty action during stage one, obviously with the snowpocalypse and everything, in which was detailed on the latest episode of Saga right here on this channel. It was a long stage one. There was a little bit of a break during the snowpocalypse. Then you had Super Week. Then you had the majors. Then we got a week to catch our breath, and we're right back in to CDL 2021 for stage 2 now. So obviously, to kind of recap, where are we at on the map right now? Minnesota RØKKR placed, was it 9th? Icon,
We lost losers round 2,
okay.
yeah.
So ranked
9th,
9th in the league, 10th in the league. Let's say 9th, just, make ourselves feel a little better. Ranked 9th from stage 1. Obviously not the performance or the results that the team was hoping for, but I think they have a really good chance to turn things around here in stage 2. So to let you know who we play, as we know, the Toronto home series started yesterday. We are having our first match today to kick off stage 2. We're going to be playing the Florida Mutineers. I'm pretty excited to see how this shakes out. Icon, I mean, is it Paris?
Yeah, it's Paris.
My screen says Florida. Are we mixed up? We might be mixed up. Oh, you're so right. No, we do play Paris. You're so right. All right,
Paris.
The screen's wrong and I'm wrong, but we are playing Paris. We play Florida tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes. Today is March 19th and the slate is 20th. Either way, we'll get that updated just momentarily for you guys. But yeah, we played Paris. Florida's tomorrow. Either way, I'm looking forward to both the matches. I feel like coming off of stage 1, Florida, Paris, they're kind of like evenly ranked. I mean, if you look at the rankings, we're right there in the middle with them. Do you think that RØKKR has what it takes to bounce back in stage 1 versus these guys, or where are you at kind of going into the Paris match today?
Yeah, we talked about this a lot when it came down to the podcast on Tuesday, because if you look at the group overall, you're trying to think, like, where are you going to get a positive record from in the second stage going into the second major? So when I look at that group and you have Dallas and Optic up top, those are two super tough matches. Not that Minnesota can't win those. They already showed in the first stage that they can get a victory over Dallas. So not that those are impossible, but those are matches where it's probably a coin flip, right? So you start looking throughout the rest of the group, where is Minnesota going to get their positive record so that they can start in winner's bracket this time and win that tiebreaker. That way, even if they do end up, dropping the first match in losers bracket or whatever, you're still getting yourself more CDL points. And that's the biggest reason why right now Minnesota is 7th overall instead of 6th, just because they started in losers and got bumped, whereas LAG started in winners and got bumped. So that's why they're behind right now in terms of being 6th or 7th. But when I look at the group overall, this weekend I think is massive. And it's one of the biggest storylines that we talked about on the podcast Tuesday, is that if you're thinking where you're going to get these wins, Paris is a team that's absolutely beatable, and we'll talk about the maps in a minute. I think they look really good, but Paris is a team that I think Minnesota should beat. And then when it comes to Florida, Florida looked hot at the end of the first major, and then they came out yesterday and they dropped to Seattle, and I don't think anybody really predicted that outside of Seattle fans and Kingdom. But he's a homer for Seattle. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at these. You think if you're going to try to get 3 wins and you're Minnesota, you want to beat Paris, you want to beat Florida, you want to beat Seattle. And then if you can pull an upset or whatever over Dallas or Optic, you finish 4-1. That's like the ideal road to starting in winner's bracket out of Group B. And plus, if you're those guys from Minnesota, you've got to have a chip on your shoulder, because just the way the group selections work, the fact that they weren't one of the top, 3 or 4 picked to put into groups, I mean, they kind of got disrespected a little bit. So if I'm sitting in, if I'm one of those dudes, I'm ready to go, because I think they have something to prove here.
I think they absolutely do. I mean, you look at the stats, right? We kind of went over this in the latest episode of Saga on the podcast and just in interviews that we've posted. Hardpoint has been a struggle for RØKKR so far. We have the worst hardpoint record in the league, that 2-7. being that Hardpoint is 2 of maps of a best of 5, and including the fact that Hardpoint is the first game mode in those best of 5s, obviously that's not going to be enough to win it. Even when you do look at the positive sides of our game, the number 2 search and destroy team right behind Atlanta FaZe, who absolutely, I mean, no offense to everyone they play, but they just ran over everybody, it looked like, in stage 1, right? So our S&D is either on par or just behind FaZe. That's great. I think we're the 3rd ranked control team in the league, which is crazy because we're also the 9th ranked team in the league. So just knowing that we have that swing map and the 2 S&Ds is in every best of 5 as well, like, we're good at those things, but we've got to see an improvement in Hardpoint and see if the boys can bounce back. And I think once this team improves in Hardpoint, they're going to be pretty scary. So I don't know, like, looking at the maps, you mentioned it, you know, we've got Hardpoint Raid coming up, so that's the first map. Do you think does that bode well for RØKKR? Is that a yikes? Like, do you remember our record from stage 1 on that at all?
Yeah, so looking at the Raid Hardpoint records, Minnesota's 1-1 and Paris is 1-3. So just these first 3 maps, Minnesota owns a record advantage on all 3 of those maps. Now, some of those losses for Paris do come to the likes of like Atlanta. So it is what it is. Atlanta's probably going to beat most teams on a couple of those maps, but still, these are not maps that Paris is great on. And in fact, if it even ends up going map 5, none of these maps Paris has a positive record on. Whereas that's not quite the case with Minnesota. So just looking at, it'll be interesting to see like the veto process and who vetoed what. My guess would be that Minnesota probably vetoed Garrison Hardpoint because I think Paris is like 3-1 or 4-1 on Garrison Hardpoint. So it's great to see that that's not part of the scheduled maps here. But starting off with that Raid Hardpoint, I think this is an opportunity here, especially with the new meta. I think it's a chance to come out, go up 1-0, win the search, and then if you get to Raid Control where Minnesota's 3-1 overall, it seems like that could be a wrap, but let's not count our chickens before they hatch, of course.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I think you know, our guys, just knowing them as people, and obviously their history competing on Call of Duty, like, they're not the type of players to implode after an L, especially so early in the season. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last time, but I'd rather start slow and finish hot or build towards greatness throughout the year than start super hot and fizzle out, kind of like we did last year. Honestly, that was tough to watch. So I'm not at all shooketh that we are ranked 9. I do think we can beat the best. You know, we saw them beat Dallas, right? We saw them beat Dallas, the world champions, reigning world champions from last season. So I think it's definitely possible for RØKKR to turn it around. And if they just fix that, if they even just become marginally better at Hardpoint, we're in for a show. So I don't know, I guess, like, let's talk Paris specifically. You definitely just gave some good insight into the you know, the statistics, the map wins, everything like that. Let's talk about like the players on Paris and obviously the players on RØKKR. Who do you think from each team is the X factor for their team? Like, who kind of is the team's reason they win or lose, if they're hot or not? Do you have a player like that for Paris, and do you have a player like that for RØKKR?
Yeah, so starting with Minnesota, the last time we saw them against Toronto, Major Maniac and Attach looked really good. They absolutely carried Minnesota throughout that, but you didn't get the numbers that you want to see out of Accuracy and Priest. I believe both of them around like a 0.75, 0.76. And when you're, you know, in the first major and it's time to put up or shut up, you just can't have 2 players going 0.75, 0.76. But that's not something that we've seen consistently out of them, right? Accuracy's been playing well for the most part all year. Attach has by far, up until now, been Minnesota's best player. So you just kind of expect him to come out and just roll up a 1.2 or a 1.3 and just kind of lead the way. It's, will you get enough from Priesta and Accuracy? That's what I'm thinking coming into this one. And especially out of Accuracy, being that main AR, we've been seeing main ARs running a Krig since, you know, the patches have come out and the new meta has revealed itself. So we'll see how it goes there. But it's such a true AR, and with his gun skill, I think that this is probably going to work out really well for him. And then when it comes to Paris, and it's a little bit of a shock, but their rookie Fire has been leading the way. I mean, he in their last match against Florida, even though they lost, he was the only one that went super positive. He had like a 1.3. Scraps played well, but you always know what you're going to get out of Scraps. So if it's kind of the same thing in that Scraps and Fire have been playing really well, and if Classic and Aqua can come up and at least be positive, then they probably have a chance. But the biggest storyline here for me is that if you see Priesta come out and just have one of those typical Priesta performances and accuracy shredding with the Krieg, I think Major Maniac and Attach are just going to do what those two do. So that's kind of the biggest storyline for me. What do we end up getting out of Priesta and accuracy?
It's going to be cool to see. I think accuracy played really well during stage one, but definitely to your point, in those last like couple matches there at the end, when it kind of mattered the most, like he wasn't there. He's the captain of this team, and you'd love to see him like be able to step up into that role, not only in game but on the scoreboard as well. But with that being said, he still played extremely well in stage one. He is actually on my fantasy team, so I hope he absolutely lights it up with his KD per minute or whatever. I forget how they even track that. I'm kind of confused, but honestly, I'll just pick in players that I knew would be good. And if I'm being honest with you, Icon, it's funny that your take kind of lines up with my fantasy CDL fantasy picks, because I also have Fire on my team, knowing that he is on a hot start, no pun intended with his name. He's a very good player, very new, very fresh. I'm just really excited to see, like if he can keep improving. Does he get worse over time as he's trying to adjust, or is he getting better? He seems to be dropping in just fine, but it'll be really exciting to see how Paris looks. I think a lot of people wrote Paris off just as they did last year, of like, okay, well, they're a team that kind of just picked up the scraps, no pun intended, the leftovers that didn't get picked up by other teams, and we just expected them to do trash, right? Well, at least I did. So I don't want to speak for everyone else, but they played really well in stage one. Their record doesn't really show, obviously, how good they are, because the matches that they did lose in stage one, they were pretty close. So, am I thinking RØKKR is going to win today? Yes. Do I hope we win? Of course. But it might not be as easy as we're all hoping our first match would be in the new stage. So, guys, just a reminder what this is. This is the Minnesota RØKKR co-stream for the RØKKR versus Paris match today. We'll be showing you guys the gameplay when it comes. I think we're waiting for the mainstream to do an interview with... was it LA Thieves? Man, on my pick'em, I had Toronto winning 3-2. Toronto goes down 5-5, round 11, search and destroy. Pretty nutty. Insight in for methods. That was pretty awesome to watch. I think he dropped 18 kills in the search. Almost had like 8 1v3s, and missed that 1v3. I think it was in round 10. God, that would have been so sick, and it would have proved my predictions right. Can't win them all, I guess, but... Anyway, yeah, so let's go deeper into the maps here. I know you kind of talked about the records. We do think Hardpoint Raid bodes well for RØKKR. Same with S&D Miami, although kind of even record on that versus teams. We at times in stage one looked really good on Search Miami, and then at times like it was a little bit of a shakier map for us. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how we come out. And also and I think of the Saga interview that we showed on the channel, with that just kind of provides like not back room, what's the best way to say? I just like in-depth analysis like from the players on like how they feel about how things went or how they went. They mentioned needing to evolve their search strats. Like, yes, it's cool that we're second in the league in search and destroy, but we all know, like, people watch the other teams, the other players, they watch VOD, they figure it out, they figure out your tendency. Where does Major Maniac like to go every time? Boom, red. Like, it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to evolve, fast enough. I actually was just talking with Jake, assistant coach, the other day, and he mentioned that they're going over strats all night the other night on S&D, just going over different things. So you love to see that. You love to hear about that. And hopefully that means that the guys will be coming out and still being dominant at search and destroy, but not in the same way that they were before, because as we all know, that it doesn't really work if you just keep doing the same thing in search and destroy. I gotta say, Lottie is definitely the best dressed on the CDL stream, by the way. She always has like a different themed outfit, and today she's got like the collared shirt. Go off, queen. All right, anyways, I'm gonna drop you guys in, or wait, let me make sure that it's time. I don't know if they're going right to our stuff or not. We'll let them rock, but either way, so let's look at the next step. Control raid, you already mentioned. Oh, nope, it is coming up. I'm so excited. Look at Attach. Look at him. He's hype. I think they're going to do a countdown. So we still have some time to talk about Control Raid. Let's say, like, worst case scenario, we drop one of those first, like, 3 maps. Hardpoint Moscow looked really rough for RØKKR previously. What is the key to that improving on that map? Is it the new meta with the ARs? Does that help? Does that hurt? What's kind of your take on Hardpoint Moscow and how RØKKR can improve on it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Moscow just specifically, you just have to win rotations. It's one of those maps where P2 and P3 are clear money hills. And if you win P2 and you're able to break and also win P3, it's basically a wrap. That's just kind of how that map works. But if you don't have P2 and you end up getting broken on P3, then it's really tough to win. So it just depends. Like, you have to win the rotations that you're there first. So if you're going over towards P2 and you're there and you're set up and you get broken, that's not a great sign, because then you have to rely on trying to get time inside of P1 or P4, which are those contested hills. So Moscow is just tough. It's like, you're going to be set up, where they're going to be coming from, but a lot of those gun battles are just 50-50 gun battles. And if you don't win them, you're going to lose rotations, and now you're going to lose 35 or 40 points that should have went your way. And before you know it, you're either up by 80 or down by 80, and you have to scramble to get back into it. So if I look at this series overall, I think that map 3 is probably a definite win, and I would be shocked if Minnesota lost map 2. So if they come out and win the raid hardpoint, I think that there's a pretty clear path there to a 3-0 victory. If they lose raid, I think they win the S&D, win control. It could very easily, if they lose map 1, it could very easily go to map 5, and we would have map 5 on Express S&D. So that would be kind of insane. So I think it's either going to be a 3-0 or a 3-2, depending on how map 1 goes.
We'll have to see how the hard point looks. I'm really excited to see it. Obviously, Express S&D from Black Ops 2 back in the day. If you're one of the best search and destroy teams in the game, you've got to be elated that Express is back in the rotation. It's an amazing search map, and I don't want to see us play it today since it is map 5. But if we do, I feel pretty confident. So give me your predictions, Icon. I'm going 3-0 RØKKR. What do you think? And chat, would love to know your predictions as well, and then we can get into the match.
I think it's going to be a 3-0. Paris isn't great on raid hardpoint, and I don't see how they end up winning Miami S&D. And if they go down 0-2, I don't see how they win the control. So 3-0 is my official pick, but if Minnesota loses map 1, then I'm going to say 3-2 Minnesota. I think it'll go map 5.
Ooh, that's a very specific prediction. I love it. Give me your prediction in the chat, and we will see you guys in between maps. For now, enjoy the CDL feed.
Man, I'm still at a loss for breath, man. I can't even believe that went all the way to a round 11, game number 5. Obviously, the Thieves walk away with it, but for a debut out of Insight, that's exactly how you want to do it.
Absolutely. A great debut coming in from Insight. Like I said, we'll see if maybe this series can live up to the hype. Let's go and meet our first team, the Paris Legion.
Wonderful start here from Paris Legion. Paris Legion just about pushed that player off the hard point.
Can they clutch up and go big?
Classic just being aggressive in the lane.
Fire's got to get on the bomb, and he will. He finds the kill.
Unbelievable stuff.
Aqua's from the back end, able to pick up 3 along the way.
Paris Legions.
What a round!
And those are your Paris Legion. Excited to see this team moving into Stage 2 study to kind of start things off.
Yeah.
A lot of people had them toward the bottom of the ranks, but they really kind of started to impress us kind of toward the end of Stage 1. They don't perform great when we talk about the major, but a lot of key points, a lot of high notes coming into this team right now.
Yeah, a lot of high notes indeed, man, especially their hardpoint game. Obviously, their record is 6-4, but they are 4-0 on Garrison hardpoint, which really boosts that stat for them. We talk about this team being a phenomenal hardpoint team, but today they're going to be able to show it. You have Stage 2, so you had some time to practice on some of your weaker maps, and hopefully, since they do not have Garrison hardpoint in this series, they're able to show that.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see the way this group looks again coming into stage 2. I know there's a lot of hype around this team kind of coming into to this next stage. But we talk about pick'ems real quick. Yeah. You got the same colors actually right now as Legion. Any coordinates there? Any connection possibly?
No, absolutely not. I'm going Minnesota RØKKR here.
I like it.
3-1. I know Minnesota. Okay. Hopefully, it's going to be a totally different team that we saw from stage 1. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Well, Study, he's building them up, and for good reason. Let's go ahead and meet now our next team. Put your hands together for the Minnesota RØKKR. Look at your Minnesota RØKKR Study. When we talk about this team kind of alongside the same note as Paris, again, kind of one of the bigger shocks at the major. These guys finished top 10. They lose the Battle of the North versus the Ultra. And didn't really look as good in Search and Destroy in that particular series. But tell me, man, what do you think about the RØKKR right now? Thoughts coming into stage 2 for them, their first match as well?
Well, they definitely have the best intro video out of all the CDL teams, but they do have the worst hardpoint out of all the CDL teams. Currently, they are 2-7 on the entire season throughout stage 1. Obviously, with stage 2, that needs to be improved. You need players to step up. One player that we were looking at specifically was Priesta. So far, throughout that stage 1, he was sitting at like a .88. When you're talking about a player from his caliber, we expect a lot better. So hopefully throughout stage 2, these guys have put it all together, especially in that hard point, so they can start winning a couple of those.
Buddy, I don't know if you see it. Express S&D. We just got to get to a game 5.
Yes.
That's all it takes. We literally have been so hyped, hoping that we would get an Apocalypse or an Express S&D. Of course, 2 new maps coming in the rotation for stage 2. Absolutely awesome. Love me some Apocalypse, and great to see Express be brought back. What me and you, we had a nice little film session the other day, watching some old games. We won't go into detail as for which one pulls out. Anyway, game 1 hardpoint coming up next on some raid. Again, we talk about this map in particular for both of these teams. For Minnesota, raid 1-1. For the Paris side, 1-3. So again, Paris, I know you talked about it, highlighted it super well. That hardpoint stat of them kind of being one of the best teams in the game sits heavily when we talk about Garrison, but we'll see how they fare off now in their worst hardpoint at 1-3. It's going to be a fun one. Here we go.
We're going to hop right on board with Priesta. This is the player that needs to step up. .88 throughout the entire stage 1. He's going to be in this hard point nice and early. Kills are going back and forth. 2 kills actually go in favor of Minnesota. So they're trying to work for this middle, trying to gain some time, and eventually trying to flip those spawns. 3 are going to drop now for Minnesota. This is the opening for the Paris Legion. They can get some time now on this P1.
They definitely can. Aqua off to a nice start, 3-0 for him, and he's kind of been the sneaky player for Legion. I mean, he's without a doubt having one of the best years, or one of the best kind of titles, I guess you could say, out of a lot of players. Like in terms of like stats right now, for Aqua, he's number 4 in overall KD, he's number 3 in hardpoint, number 6 in control. So from a respawn perspective, he has been that guy for Legion, and again, has kind of sneakily had a great year for them. But P1 going the way of RØKKR, last few seconds about to go in their hands, but it will be the Legion now setting up for next. Classic finding a big one from the front, now has a more difficult task of taking down Accuracy and Priesta from the flank. Again, we'll see how that kind of meta starts to evolve. Krieg for Accuracy, no surprise there, but it's a nice trade. Legion winning the overall fights in the feed.
Yeah, so Legion were able to hold that from the front side, eliminate both players from the back, so now they're going to be getting those back spawns for this kitchen hardpoint. Going to see Minnesota trying to work around one side, attach is going to drop, so now they decide to flood through front. But all the kills are going in favor of Minnesota. It's coming down to the last couple of seconds on this hard point. Eventually, Minnesota going to have to start thinking about this rotation. Aqua's currently 7-1 on a 4 spree. You do not want to give this guy streaks nice and early, because it can completely change the game.
Well, it absolutely can. Especially with a map like Raid, you got a lot of open areas to work with. A big kill coming in from Priesta, so that will silence things for now. Another big 1v1 off the rotation as Major Maniac winning that fight. That will give Minnesota spawns, and kind of based off the way that Kitchen looked, you're really hoping to have a good setup when we talk about next. But I know you kind of talked about it earlier, but I really am looking at Priesta, as Attach does end up dropping toward Mansion side. I'm looking at Priesta to have a big series, really kind of a big stage too. I know he is a guy that we talk about constantly, the Swiss Army knife of Call of Duty. He can run pretty much any role, but the 74U just hasn't been there. I know you called it out like a .88. I know respawns have a big part to play in that when we talk about stats, but I'm looking at him to kind of be the difference maker, to give RØKKR maybe even a better stage than they saw last time around.
Yeah, we definitely need him to step up, because we see the consistency out of Attach. He's basically sitting over a 1.0 on every single category when they are winning. So he needs a duo, and Priesta has the capability to definitely be that. Fortunately for Stage 1, it wasn't the performance that he wanted, but Stage 2, so far, starting off on a high note. They're going to be up 20 points from this garage hill. Now it's all about trying to break towards basketball. You see 2 players from Minnesota trying to work around the backside, but Fire trying to slow down that push. Accuracy on a 5 spree, able to open up with that first kill. He's just trying to play his life, work around this backside, but is he going to know that there's going to be a player in garage? He's going to drop. And here come 2 players from Paris Legion. So far, they have been holding this well.
Minnesota starting to fall a little bit early. We'll see how they start to rebound when it comes down to the basketball court hill. Let's go to an Astro listening with the RØKKR.
Close one shot. There's 2 hills. Alright, Nick can fire an old. Okay. I'm gonna go to you rotate. Any trophies? I'm gonna come here. Probably do. No one's water steps. I'm going top ring. One's pillars. Two old. They're both weak. One is it. Push me out. Money. Dead. Nick ran up basketball. He's gonna go L or kitchen. Where's Scraps? Scraps dead. Alright, good job. I'm bringing it right. He might go back laundry. Oh, there's spawning laundry side. Okay. Yeah. You might have your water. Have your water. I can help you kitchen. I'm holding left, guys. Top laundry, Nick. Tiki weak. 2 left, 1 back kitchen. 2 ring. One close ring and 1 our pinch. Water fire. I'll pick up your water. I'll pick up your water. One is water. Left. He ran up water stairs. 2 trophies on time. He's still water. Help me left. Right side hill, top ring. Fire's water stairs, 1 shot. I'm gonna go top bar. I'm going around water again. I'm going around water again. Oh, wall banging for you. Fire was water stairs, guys. I'm looking for it. Go up there, one shot. I'm seeing one shot. Water stairs. You have a trophy on time? Got him? Fire stairs, water stairs, 1 shot. Kitchen. Fire water steps dead. Kitchen dead. Pool stairs and low rock. Pool stairs and low rock. They're spawning garage. Hold the pinch. I'll hold it. Water stairs, Yuli. I know, they can be art. 2 water stairs. Okay. Get my art side. I don't see him water stairs. Water stairs, Yuli dead. Nice. One jungle. I'm gonna heal back here. I can help. I have the help. They can go bottom or top art. I have your close still. I'm playing on this side, then. Driveway. Bottom art. Looking bottom art. He could go top. I don't have pillars. I'm looking back. Yeah, bottom art. Classic. Yeah, I'll see him else back. Yeah, there's 2 art. I got 1. Yeah, you can help him. Yeah, top art. Yeah, Nick's top. Top dead. Nice. Looking for Yuli and... Yuli dead. Nice. Good job. Fire.
After the first set of rotations, it's been pretty much Paris all throughout. Study? When we talk about Minnesota RØKKR, Hardpoint has not been a strong suit for them. 2-7 record. Obviously the worst currently in the CDL. Did you take anything away from the comms? Like, is there something that maybe is just missing right now after that first set of rotation?
Well, no, just listening to the comms, it all sounds like it's all there. But it's just the setup that they have. Once one player drops and a player has to rotate to pick up that positioning, it's just not working in their favor. They were fully set up for that P5 hardpoint. Paris, all they had to do was just win 2 gunfights and eventually play the traits at that point to break it. So if you're Minnesota, you just got to work on better security when you're talking about these setups. One player drops, someone needs to be able to fill that gap so you don't flip the spawns and have the potential to break it. But they bounce back on this P1 hardpoint. Priesta currently on a 5 spree. We were talking about the young man, how he needs to play better for this team to have success, especially in a map and a mode like Hardpoint. You see him work around the backside. He's going to run into Scraps. Unfortunately, he's going to drop. All the Minnesota players trying to work around the back. They were able to drop 1, so now Aqua's going to be the only player left in his Hardpoint. He's going to drop, and that was a great break out of the RØKKR there.
Yeah, great break coming in from Minnesota. Again, for Legion, we're talking about how this could be a great hill for them. This can where they really can start to kind of distance the game. Priesta goes big over at P1, and then rotation for P2. They, without a doubt, bought themselves a ticket back in this game, and they're even going to take the lead, it appears. Fire from the front, really no teammate support from either side. It was a sole man mission as he falls. Scraps really in the rotation back now toward Garage, which is what Paris has to focus on now. They'll start to, in some ways, fade back, try to keep some map positioning, but if you do look, player 5, player 6 from Paris, they actually spawn out here at this old hill, a common spawn that does occur sometimes here over on Raid, a massive gunfight going down between the ARs. Accuracy versus Aqua teammate support here for both of these teams. Priesta drops, Accuracy, he falls as well. Paris able to stay alive as they regain spawns now for next.
Aqua just did everything that he can. He won 3 major gunfights off that rotation. I thought Attach, when he was rotating towards that water salad, he was able to win that first gunfight and eventually try to flip those spawns for his team. But like I said, Aqua going huge on that van, was able to stay alive and eventually have the setup. But as I say, that Minnesota RØKKR 3 go down. Aqua's going to be the only one left here. 4 go down now for Paris. Now Minnesota are going to be fully set up, have the potential to take this lead going into that P4. But look at number 4, who's Priesta. He was off the rotation. He's going to drop the scraps. So that's going to slow down the push for Minnesota just a little bit.
Yeah, some really good hills. Again, it's kind of in the situation of like early, we're talking about Legion playing great, able to kind of get some nice breaks. But it's been Minnesota, as of recent, who've been able to do it. Now the rotation coming in toward basketball. So we've got ourselves pretty much a tie game, especially based off the early seconds that Legion are most likely going to be able to muster. But can RØKKR do it again? Attach, which is a solid player for them in all of Stage 1, positive in every game mode in particular. As he ends up falling, really 3 go down in the feed. Last player up is Major Maniac. Granted that QBZ is great, especially in his hands, but he's going to try to buy some time, wait for the teammates, try to go for a push. Paris off of this hill. Oh, that's a great kill coming in from Fire from one side or the other. Minnesota, they've got to try and break in. Things are starting to get out of hand. And Classic, earlier on, was able to gain those streaks. Can Minnesota get in time? They're pretty much running right into the blender. They can clearly win it here. Minnesota, they have to get their feet inside of the hill. Is anybody even going to be there for the possible challenge? 2 seconds, 1 second, and this one belongs to Paris.
Oh, man. Like I said, man, we went for that listening. It just came down to they were communicating perfectly. It just came down to the setups when they needed to hold. And unfortunately, Paris Legion has always had that opening, knew exactly how they wanted to execute that break, and they got it done every single time. So Aqua going huge right there in that P3 hard point to just basically give Paris Legion a couple more seconds so they had the ability to win on that basketball hill. Like I said, man, the continued woes from
Man, Icon, you hate to see it. What did we just talk about? You know, we feel like the guys will be improved at hardpoint. We see that it's hardpoint raid. They start a little slow, aren't able to get back in it. They do almost swing back in it, but just unable to get it done there. Would you see that, like, are we still the same hardpoint team from Stage 1? Are we a little improved? Is Paris nasty? What just happened?
Well, I mean, it's tough to say, you know, the same hardpoint team as in like a negative connotation, because even in those hardpoints that Minnesota lost to Dallas, it was 250 to 201 and it came down to 1 rotation. So I know there's a lot being made of like, you know, the worst hardpoint and they're 2-7 overall, now 2-8 overall. But so many of these maps come down to 1 rotation or 1 gunfight. Like Classic was the last person left inside basketball court's first set of rotations. He gets a 2-piece. If he doesn't get that 2-piece, that's a 40-point swing, because they ended up getting the last 20 seconds of basketball there, which if Minnesota gets that, now that goes back to a P5. And also, second set of rotations inside of Garage, there was a 1v1 that Minnesota lost. If they win that 1v1, that's another 15 or 20-point swing, you know, depending on however fast people recover. So it's tough to, I mean, you can sit here and say they're just a bad hardpoint team or whatever, but it just, so many of these maps, and the league is so talented, it comes down to 1 play, 1 gun battle. Do you win it or not win it? And Classic got the 2-piece to extend that time in P4, first set of rotations. They lost the 1v1 inside of Garage. They win either of those, they probably end up winning the map. And this is what it comes down to. I mean, now they're down 0-1, and you got to move on to Miami Search.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to watch a couple of those moments where if they would have just traded the kill or just ended up pinching in, right? Like, I mean, we saw on P4 at the very end there, I think it was Attach and maybe Major Maniac, I can't remember who it was, but they were pinching Fire and Tiki, and Fire got a gnarly 2-piece. They weren't even in the same direction. Like, that just, it can't happen if you're going to try to get control of those hills and get that time. So, although it's tough to watch them go, now 2-8 in hardpoint, that's tough scenes. We do still feel really good, or at least I do, about the maps coming up. So we've got, Search and Destroy coming up next. I'm excited for that. I can't wait. Which map is it again? I lost it on my screen here. Miami. Okay, yeah. So Miami, Search, and then Raid Control. That's a couple of maps that we've been mad decent at, especially the Control. So we'll see if the guys can bounce back. Give me some hype in the chat. Give the love. Send your energy. And let's see how map 2 goes.
The Call of Duty League is brought to you by GameFuel. Use code CDL2021 for a special discount on GameFuel.com. Tournament audio and team listen-ins are powered by Astro Gaming, the official headset and mix amp of the Call of Duty League. Coming into the 2021 season with a statement after 3-0 over the LAC.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the CDL. We just showed the pick'ems, and I am terrified. I was giving some, I was talking some smack yesterday, not feeling so great. Regardless, let's go and get it's our Game Fuel keys to victory. Starting things off with the Minnesota RØKKR. Study, what do you got?
They just got to be better at hardpoint, man, going into stage 2. And right there, they dropped the very first one, so that puts them at 2-8 overall throughout the season. Worst overall throughout the entire CDL. Priestley needs to take over like we know he can. 0.88 overall KD. We're talking about it, man. This is a young player who needs to be that X factor for this team. And don't play players on Garrison hardpoint. That key to victory, well executed right there from the Minnesota RØKKR. Even though they do drop that map number 1, those keys to victory are on point, man. Hardpoint is not the best game mode. Priest is not really having the performance that we're used to seeing, but they're going into a search and destroy. They have to be better.
Absolutely have to be better. Let's go and get now into our keys to victory, Gameful keys to victory here for Paris. First, Scraps and Aqua need to keep being that 1-2 punch. These guys have been absolutely great for Paris all stage long, at least in regards to stage 1. Also, need to improve in the search and destroys coming into stage 2. RØKKR, of course, one of the best teams in the mode. And then lastly, try to get raid out of the vetoes, as they are 3-7 in all raid modes combined. They're able to win the first raid over in Hardpoint. They will have that control for game number 3. But again, it's kind of this ever continuous conversation. Legion haven't been great in S&D, good in Hardpoint. RØKKR not been great in Hardpoint, but good in S&D. So again, we kind of have this back and forth situation. Legion, they're able to walk away with the game mode that most of us expected that they could. Now the chips fall into RØKKR's lap. Search and destroy at times, and there's been a lot of conversations about this study. It can kind of be worrisome, right, to kind of rely on a mode like S&D from time to time, especially with, you never know, like the timings, the way that certain strategies work out, the way the maps can play from time to time. Sometimes it can be worrisome to rely on a game mode like this. But Minnesota, they've been able to do it. Again, we talked about it last time around that they saw Miami. Wasn't too great for them, but you trust these 4 guys in a mode like this, especially considering that Paris, this has been a mode to forget, to put it lightly.
Yeah, but if you're Paris Legion, just got to go back and watch that VOD from that major where Toronto just made Minnesota RØKKR look silly on this map. Beat them 6-1. So hopefully they're able to gain that information going into this map. It's looking like Paris Legion right off the rip are going to commit towards that A site. They were able to get the player that was crossing over towards Bolt, so that's going to eliminate 1 line of sight for Priesta. You see that number 8 player in fire, just playing that late flank, making sure that no players from the RØKKR are able to push that late flank. But so far, Paris Legion are playing this aggressive. They're trying to get straight up towards that A bomb. Classic's going to eat that nade, but the bomb should be able to go down. But Major Maniac with the second. Now it's going to be a 3v3.
It's great nade coordination. Again, if you're RØKKR, you're not even revealing, just as I say that, of course, Major Maniac goes down. But hey, in that particular fight, not revealing themselves at the moment had the 3-3 count, but now we find ourselves where Legion up in the 3v2. Again, bomb dropped in the middle of the plant from Classic. Attached brought low accuracy there for the support fire. Able to find a nice pick on the scraps, also stays alive. So this one now coming down to Aqua and Fire. Time's starting to tick away, and Fire realizes, I got to get myself right over to that bomb site. Aqua with the plant, Attach is going to read it. Great plays coming in from him, and also takes down Fire as well. A great sequence coming in from Dylan Price as RØKKR able to come away with a 2v3 clutch.
Yeah, that round is a lot on accuracy right there. He gained that information that the bomb was going to be planted. Hits the first nade, calls out to his teammate Major Maniac, who hits the second Semtex to get that bomb down on the site. Fire then opens up with a great second kill, forces it into a 4v2, but the entire time accuracy was just staying alive, going back and forth between those windows. Got some great timing on the scraps to force it to a 2v2 and eventually closes out the round. Good defensive hold right there out of the RØKKR, even though they did drop a player nice and early. Let's see what they're able to do on this offense.
And we've seen Legion play Miami a decent amount of times. There's been kind of this known strategy about them that they do like to hold sites heavily on defense. Oftentimes will kind of send 4 straight. A lot of coordination early on in top piano, as it will equal out to a trade. So Minnesota presence is known. Player 7 though not biting just as of yet. Aqua's still hanging out over at that other site. So it will actually be an equal fight over here at B, but again, search and destroy, it's a game of numbers, and that rotation now coming in from player 4. Priesta grabbing that bomb, just wants to make sure he's got clearance to cross through the street, and once they cross through the street, they should be somewhat aware that A, somewhat open, probably going to have at least one player in this position. The one problem is that it happens to be one of the best ARs right now in the game. Aqua finding one early.
Aqua did not give up his positioning the entire time. He actually repositioned himself to basically give up complete mid-map control for his teammates. But him just staying alive right there, eventually able to close out that round for Paris Legion, was so huge, man. Once again, you've seen the aggressive play from Minnesota. They were able to open up with another first blood. But Paris Legion, like I said, man, not hesitating, not changing positionings. Aqua knew exactly what he needed to do. Just make sure that they kept them off of that bomb site. Opening up with that first blood right there, eventually getting the second. Good defensive hold right there out of the Legion.
And I know, like, in, prior search and destroy history, like, rotating a bomb, like, win percentage has got to be very low. But on Miami, like,
yeah,
I don't even, it's got to be it's got to be, like, severely low. Like, if you're trying to rotate on Miami, especially in these last few rounds that we've been able to see, last few games, the statistic has got to be pretty short. But Priesta, nice early kills. The SMGs happening on both sides of the map, not just the beach, but also the street as well. Fire catches a nade, but meanwhile, it's Classic who's able to have the final laugh for the moment. 2 versus 2. Somewhat of a free site over at B if Aqua vends to get there in time. The big engagement going down, and accuracy, he's able to win it.
So now it's Aqua left in a 1v2. 40 seconds are going to be remaining on this clock. He knows the positioning out of accuracy. Just has to try to locate Priesta. He's throwing shoulders outside of purple. Eventually going to work right up the middle of the map. Neither one of the RØKKR players are going to be able to spot him. So you're going to see him jump over this wall. He has to eventually work for that bomb plant. Just checking every angle that he possibly can. You see Priesta starting to move in closer towards that B site. Eventually, he's going to be top purple. Aqua should be dropped here in just a second. Priesta taking his time right there, just giving up that bomb plant. Well executed right there out of the Minnesota RØKKR on that defensive hold.
Good plays for Minnesota, winning the situations that they should. I feel like after our last game, I just don't know when to assume that a clutch should not actually come inbound with how crazy Insight was played that we saw in Miami. For those that missed it, go back and watch the VOD. I mean, seriously, Insight, his debut for Toronto, it was insane. Making a number of different near clutches, we'll say that, near clutches on Miami. No spoilers, of course, chat. We know that you guys want to give spoilers away to those who haven't seen the prior series. But hey, Minnesota starting things off well, obviously grabbing the 2-1 advantage. And we'll see, we've seen a few A looks. I'm assuming we'll kind of head back to B as typical, but maybe not. At least accuracy. Ready to go for the early challenge. Over toward that mid-street position. Of course, for an AR like him, you like your chances there. But Fire, really aggressive play, and he's going to pay for it. Priest able to find the first, but Classic going to hold things down for his fallen comrade as the nade from Major Maniac hits the asphalt right in front of him as he goes flying. Attach thankfully ends up getting the return. In the meantime, one player actually making the way up the hallway. You know that accuracy's here. Is he going to be able to read that Aqua's on his flank? Not going to happen. And again, trade after trade would be a big kill if Attach is able to win it, but he's not. Aqua finds the final two. And speaking of twos, we're level at it.
You see the way that the Paris Legion decided to play their defensive right there. They had Fire and Classic push out aggressively towards that garage side. Classic played that beautifully. I know that Fire lost his first gunfight to Priesta. He was able to trade that and then eventually puts a couple shots into Major Maniac as he was trying to throw that Semtex. Eventually kills himself with his own grenade. Classic takes down two, turns into a 2v2. Then Aqua, great flanks onto accuracy, great read onto Attach to close out that round. Now you're going to have Paris Legion going in on their offense. See Scraps jumping onto the top of this bus, just trying to make sure no players from Minnesota are rushing in towards top purple. But the positioning out of Minnesota right here can cause trouble for Paris Legion. You're going to see Attach deciding to back down from that garage push. Major Maniac also changing his positioning. So far, Paris Legion is trying to find an opening. All four players are here. So this is going to be the commit push.
Commit push indeed. All about the timings. When can you find that nice pick early on? They know where the players are going to be positioned, but Major Maniac, nice angle for him. Not able to walk away with the shot. The trophy's making life difficult, as they tend to do. Classic. Go and type in his best combination, as there goes accuracy for the first. Attach. Nice response, and they know that Classic's on the bomb. The nade comes in to try and distance him off. That gives Classic some timing, but Fire ends up falling. Classic's able to win a big 1v1, but now it comes down to Scraps. One player who wasn't over at the site, and one player was on the flank. Isn't able to read it. Scraps again with that QBZ, 18 seconds left. See what Major Maniac and co have cooked up in time. Starting to get away. Scraps not able to hold things down. Major Maniac goes for the read, wins the nice challenge. Major with the 74U. Not the typical weapon, but it works there.
Works out there indeed. If you're the RØKKR, it's a great defensive hold. You gave him that B bomb site. Paris Legion had that down. 45 seconds 4v4 retake, and they executed well. Came down to Attach, though. Major Maniac and Attach were working really well on towards Classic onto that bomb site. Classic was able to take down Attach, but great shots for Major Maniac underneath the van to get him one shot and eventually traded to close out that round number 5. Now you're going to have Paris on their defensive hold this time. It's looking like Minnesota are going to decide to change up their play and take this bomb site over towards A, so Aqua's going to have his hands full once again. But with all the information that these guys are getting in this purple building, they should get the heads-up call that it's going to be an A push.
But his accuracy does find that early first blood over at B. Keep in mind, he's the only player from Minnesota at the bottom of the map that could hold on to a few Paris players here. I know, kind of given the positioning, Aqua's now going to be able to get somewhat of an intel. They're saying, hey, we got one guy at B at least, we got one guy at A. Aqua getting some more visuals is going to be able to supply the necessary callouts, but Paris then to go for the 2v1 challenge onto accuracy, so they will win it, evening the man count up. And again, it comes down a lot of the times to that trusty AR who has to play the time and also try to find the picks. Oh, and how about that? Using the porthole? Okay. Nice angles coming in from Aqua. Unfortunately, not seeing anything. The long visual down to the other side of the boat. Some shots coming in to Attach. Again, the visual's looking good, but how about the angle coming in from Dylan Price? There's one, there's two. Back-to-back headshots. Aqua, it's been his side of the map all game long, but it's RØKKR winning a few in a row, but that's 2 straight for them and grabbing the solid advantage off of what is a nice 2-piece coming in from Attach.
Yeah, and that play is a lot on accuracy right there. Being the island player that he is, he was able to open up the first blood all the way across the map, so that has the Paris Legion players staggered. What do they want to do? Are they coming B? Are they going A? Eventually, at that point, it was too late, so they commit towards the flank, taking out accuracy, but time was just ticking. Minnesota RØKKR had better positioning right there, able to close out that offensive round. 2 rounds away from closing this out and having a tied series at 1-1. Paris Legion looking like they're just going to take this one slow. They're going to give up complete purple control. That one player working towards the outskirts, accuracy, trying to stay alive in that top window. Comes a couple tacticals coming in. Paris Legion. It's looking like they're going to commit towards this garage once again. But are they going to read it? There's a lot of players from Minnesota RØKKR in that purple building.
And that's the hard part. Trying to make your way through the garage, you got to look left, right, and center. Major Maniac being primed right in front of their line sights, tagging them up and through the van. RØKKR able to drop the first, but attach playing the sneaky positions. Back and forth we go in regards to gunfights, but take a look at Priesta. To say if those players were still out in the open, there could have been a good sequence there, but bomb down, Legion are aware of it. That was a huge kill needed for accuracy. Only peppers him up. Granted, while Legion are somewhat trapped in this position, they do have man count advantage, but accuracy repositions. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Accuracy goes big for the roster. The 3v2 clutch, and all 3 of them coming in here at the end. How about this sequence of accuracy?
Man, that was such trigger discipline, man. There's a lot of players that just don't have that, but a player of accuracy's caliber knows exactly what he needs to do in those situations. Remove the guy off bomb. Priesta plays his life as much as he can towards that back alley and eventually sets up accuracy for the hat trick there, getting 3 on the round. Now they found themselves 1 round away from tying this up in the series at 1-1. That was a great play out of accuracy that last round, man. He commits towards that flank. Unfortunately, doesn't kill him, but then goes top purple, repositions himself. Great teamwork out of him and Priesta. It's looking like they're going to commit towards this B-bomb now on this offense. See that number 7 player in RØKKR, changing up his positioning for the first time, pushing all the way up to B side, but Fire able to open up the 1, able to get the 2nd now. So now Minnesota are left in a 2v4 situation.
Nice double from Fire. Gonna let out some frustration, but Major Maniac sends it back to the respawn screen. Meanwhile, Major Maniac's gonna have to do this one solo. Finds the pick onto Fire, but his teammates all gone now in a much-needed round, really, if you're Paris. Again, 5-2. Hoping to get this one 5-3. You like their chances to do it, but Major Maniac, see what angle he likes to take. RØKKR's sitting outside, parked, ready to go, ready to give the call-out, ready to take the shot. Well, you do have a nice weapon for the engagement. RØKKR able to stay alive, time ticking away. And so does Major Maniac's chances at securing this round.
Yeah, it's a 3v1, bombs down. There's just no time to work with. He's just trying to pick up a couple kills just in case he goes towards that 5-5, and they do need that defensive round, but he's going to drop Paris Legion with a great defensive hold right there to put the map at 5-3. All comes down to the back of Fire right here, man. They know the positioning of him. He was just able to walk away with a 2-piece. No team shots came in from his teammates as well. Those are both his kills from top to bottom, man. Great 2-piece from Fire right there.
There's a rookie in Miami and another rookie in Miami making some big plays. Of course, I don't know if we're going to see anybody get to, was it like 18? But still, nice play. Surprising for Paris. Scraps not having the greatest game. Usually in Search and Destroy, he's the guy leading the way. But a 1.15. Rest of the teammates, 0.9, 0.8, 0.75. So if that says anything, it's usually Scraps carrying the load for Paris in the S&Ds.
Accuracy.
They'll start to line up. Accuracy, another opportunity. He starts to see a few stars there for a moment, but Classic, finding that first blood, trying to open up things at A. And at least for right now, they've got an open sight. They get that bomb down, though, put them in a much better position. RØKKR realizes such. Starts to punch in the digits.
Yep, so the bomb is going to go down. A couple tacticals coming in. Unfortunately, not able to take down RØKKR. So it's going to be a 4v3 situation. Fire, great positioning onto attach. Now it's going to be a 4v2. Minnesota are crumbling, and that's going to be 2 straight for the Legion. Now they find themselves down 5-4. Oh, this map is getting closer and closer as the rounds go on, man. But Fire, going huge on that late flank, was able to take down 1 and then eventually come out and get the 2nd onto Major. Round by round, these guys are fighting back. Unfortunately, for accuracy there, everyone was in front of him. He wasn't able to take one down. At that point, it was too late for Minnesota to try to rock back and stop that plant. But Now you're going to be Minnesota. You're going in on another offense. Are they going to commit this towards that A-bomb site once again? RØKKR has been a handful at this site the entire map so far. Going to send 4 players towards that A site. Scraps, unfortunately, is going to get bad timing there, but RØKKR once again opened up a 2-piece. Now it's going to be a 4v2 situation for the RØKKR.
Changes up the positioning. Great play coming in from Yuli. 10 and 5 for him. If you're Minnesota, that just takes all the wind out of your sails. Cold and blustery night on Miami. Nothing's going to come easy as RØKKR finds the third. Already the hat trick. Can he secure the ace? Only question to ask. Scraps getting some good shots in from range. Don't want to try and overchow this one. What, very similar to just a few rounds ago. Instead, I mean, what? If you're RØKKR right now, nice nades coming in, really just providing a lot of great support fire. It was a 5-2, now coming to a 5-5. From your history, if you're a team like Minnesota, you're great at search and destroy, you're up the way that you are, and now you've allowed for, what, 3 rounds in a row to go the opposite direction. What do you do from a composure perspective? Whenever you're talking about, hey, we played the game well, we've lost a few rounds in a row, how do you try to regain coming into this round 11 when the momentum is clearly on the other side?
You just got to take a breather, man. You got to do exactly what's been working for you this entire map so far. You guys are up 5-2. Your offensive pushes towards that B site have been shut down. RØKKR is trying to he's just changing up his positioning every single time. So if you're going to end up on another offensive push, you have to send multiple players, at least not from the same positioning, because RØKKR is changing it up left and right. You have to try to eliminate him from that A site if you're committing to that. He's currently on a 4 spree. He's single-handedly holding down that A bomb site. But if you're Minnesota RØKKR, I'm just literally being aggressive. I'm going into purple right here. I'm taking control of that top B, and I'm just planting that B bomb as fast as I possibly can.
I like the call, but Minnesota, by no means being aggressive early. Classic was ready for the fight. As you can see him, he's prepared. He's ready for this first engagement. At one point, Classic was pretty high up in first blood percentages in all of the CDL. That has started to slow down as Legion's struggles in search and destroy began to accrue, but typical round 11, things start to slow down. Everybody focuses on that first blood. Pace slows down. It really comes down to that first engagement as things can start to explode. Fire, a great position over here at purple. He and Classic pretty much back to back, but Fire's got that positioning, and we saw him earlier in this exact same spot nearly on a big 2-piece, what kind of ignited the Legion's comeback, but not confident in the fight. He has to back up. Slowly but surely, RØKKR try to make their way over at B. Priesta throws a few shoulders. Has to be careful, though, because here comes Classic. Scraps, they combine for 1. The great team shots, and Classic is still here. Fire as well. Trying to finalize things on the Major Maniac, and how about the Legion making the 5-2 comeback in the search and destroy. As you called it before we started this one off, Study, but the second best team versus the second worst team, stats being thrown out the window here in stage 2 as Paris, they grab the 2-0 lead.
Oh, man, and if you're Minnesota RØKKR, that one's going to sting, man. You're up 5-2, 1 round away from tying up this series. Now you're going to be down 0-2 in this series, and you have to win the next 3 straight to have the potential to complete the reverse sweep. Oh, man, from top to bottom, starting at 5-2, just came down to a couple key plays. You saw what Paris Legion were able to do in that round and secure that round towards that B site, able to win the trades there. Then RØKKR going huge in that previous round to just force it to a 5-5. But if you're Minnesota RØKKR right there, you have to take control of that game. You have to be aggressive, knowing exactly how the Paris Legion players have been playing their defensive so far. They have 2 players who've been staying at A and 2 players really aggressive towards purple. But that round, they decided to take their time. Time is ticking on the clock, so eventually they have to work that bomb plan with about 30 seconds left. But at that point, you force the players from Paris Legion to eventually wrap back, set up a crossfire. It was too late for Minnesota RØKKR to try to fight back in that round with the amount of time they wasted trying to develop a play there.
A big and a nice team win for Paris Legion. 12-5 for RØKKR, 10-7 for Fire. Again, like I said, it has been Scraps leading the way for Legion in the S&Ds. He has somewhat of a slow performance. You expect that should be a key to victory, no pun intended, for the Minnesota RØKKR to walk away with it. However, that is not the case. Well, like I said, a great team victory for Legion. Looking better in the search and destroys. And when you get a victory like that, when you're down 5-2 versus a team like that, it definitely starts to make you feel pretty good. But let's go and revisit that round 11 with our U.S. Army tactical play. Definitely need to kind of revisit what went wrong here for the RØKKR versus what went right for the Legion. Study, what did you see here?
So right here, you see it's 35 seconds left. So they have to make a play quick. They have no info on where the players from the Paris Legion are going to be located. Obviously, Fire gives us his positioning right there once he puts a couple shots down. But they wasted 3 nades to try to eliminate a player in that corner. And once this happens, still 25 seconds left, Priesta is that bomb carrier. He's just trying to gain some information for his team to where these players can be located. Fortunately, he's going to drop because, like I said, it stalled enough time for that player who was at that A site to right back and pick up the back alley. And at that point, they just set up a great crossfire from the Paris Legion there. Just too much time wasted for Minnesota RØKKR on that last round. They're definitely going to have to go back and rewatch that one because they should have been able to close it out.
Yeah, well, the last 2 Miamis have not treated them oh so well. But at least in terms of the Legion camp, they're sitting pretty, man. They're sitting pretty nicely. When we talk about the standings, the way that things are looking right now in the group stage. A hard loss early if you are Minnesota, but hey, the series is by no means done. We've got control on Raid right after this quick break.
Oh man, that'll burn you up, Icon. Where do we even begin to break that down? I think it was 1-1. RØKKR, Paris tied, go up 5-2. We're feeling nice. I think you and I were even saying like, oh yeah, going to map 3 soon. And then one round by round, Aqua and Paris Legioners claw their way back in, and they win in the overtime. What the heck just happened? Like, was it Paris going off? Was it a dismantling of our strategies? What's your first take of that S&D comeback by Paris?
I think 1,000% Study hit the nail on the head. In that last map, basically every defense set up for Paris looked the exact same. With you had 2 over towards Beach, you had 2 over towards Hotel. So if you make the call that you're going to go towards Hotel, you have to get those trades right away. It's the same exact thing that we saw in the previous match today with LA Thieves, is that they just pushed top Hotel and they got into gun battles. They knew that somebody was going to go down, but in the end, they forced those trades. They got control of the B bomb site, and then they forced their opponents to play the retake game. Whereas with this, as soon as they started to get a heads up, like, okay, they're slow playing over here towards Hotel. As soon as that started to happen, then they could rotate over from Beach. They could start to play that crossfire. And at that point in time, they didn't have control of back bomb site. They didn't have control of Hotel. So you're just forced to push up the stairs or push towards that back alley. And once that happens and you don't have either of those power positions, it's just so tough to get the bomb down. So I think it just might have gotten a little bit pick happy, might have gotten a little bit passive, but just didn't make the plays when they needed to. And now we're going to map 3.
Yeah, I mean, we said it at the end of map 1, so maybe even don't want to say it again, because I said, oh, we're feeling good going into the search. And then obviously, yeah, we go up 5-2, feeling good then as well. Props to Paris for just figuring it out and coming back and working really well together. But now we go to control on Raid. This is a map that Paris, what did you say the record was? Not very good.
1-2.
Okay, so not terrible, but you would think it'd be more with how commonly it is played. But yeah, so this is a map that I like for RØKKR. I think that this is one where we were able to kind of punch our way back into this one. We choked the search. It happens. It happens to the best teams, but we're going to have to really come back here in the control and take over control of the series, because if we don't, it will be our first loss of stage 2, which is not good. So looking ahead at the maps that you and I really thought we wouldn't even really have to cover, because we were both kind of hoping and expecting a 3-0 out of these guys. We've got Control Raid, Hardpoint Moscow, and then S&D Express. So, let's take it to Express. We both said we wanted to see Express, so let's see what we're able to do here. We're going to kick it back over to the mainstream now. Enjoy the map, and we'll be back after the Raid control.
Top 6 in KDs, which is going to be Aqua and Scraps. That 1-2 punch we were talking about in those keys to victory, especially on a map and a mode like Control Raid. When we're looking at this, Minnesota RØKKR, obviously, the whole momentum shift for them. They were up 5-2 on that map number 2. Eventually, they lose that map. So now it's all about trying to complete a reverse sweep. It's all going to start with this map right here, man. And when you're talking about it for the Paris Legion, you need to be able to shut down players like Scraps, like RØKKR, who really tend to dominate in this game mode.
Yeah, as you called it, they've really been the 1-2 punch without doubt. Like those two players literally coming at you second one tries to take you down, but still. I gotta say, Study, well, we talked in the, it was in the middle of kind of Minnesota melting in regards to the last search and destroy. I said, hey, how do you start to come back from this? When we talk about losing momentum, and especially in a mode that kind of is where a lot of their confidence lies, how do you regain, what needs to be said in the comms coming into this next control as you look at an 0-2 series right now?
Honestly, everyone just needs to take a chill pill. You all need to take a deep breath and realize that we are in this situation because we messed up. That's all about us just eliminating those mistakes and just perfecting our gameplay to try to fight back in this series. You see what Paris Legion right off the rip are trying to do. They're trying to get some early ticks onto that B point. They're going to have 3, so time is going to be flying. You're going to need a couple players from Minnesota RØKKR to try to set up a pinch, but Priesta, he's going to drop to RØKKR. Here comes the second tick already on this B point. Isn't going to be enough time for Minnesota to try to work this out. The entire time you see that number 1 player all the way on the opposite side of the map. 2 kills are going to go in favor of Classic, and that's going to be the B point, just like that.
And usually, roles reverse, right? We were talking about Raid earlier, and it is strictly about going for A, getting that time. B is the one that you kind of rely on later, but Paris making it look simple off the start. Again, accuracy's kind of been hanging out over at that A point. Unfortunately, he's been listening to a lot of negative comms. Calling out one-shots, calling out, hey, this guy's alive over here, but nothing really all that positive to start. If you're Minnesota, a lot of time for Paris, and again, on a point that sits pretty well, and they have all been up in that kitchen position, but nice haymaker coming in from accuracies. He's able to find 2, so trying to delay that push, but it's Classic, the sole player on the point right now for Paris.
Paris Legion, they're going to have the positioning to try to cut these players off from Minnesota. They're going to have to try to break in. Classic's going to open up with the first blood. Priester with the trace through the pillars. Trying to go for the second on the Scraps. Yes, he does. Now it's going to be RØKKR. He's going to drop, so that's going to slow down the push for the Paris Legion. Paris Legion do currently have a 3 live advantage. But if you're Minnesota right there, you got to be feeling really good. You shut down that push. Now you're able to fight for some map control and eventually keep this clock ticking.
If that QBZ start to go to work for Classic, unfortunately, he's looking at his front. Really, the flank is what he has to be conscious of.
This is open. It's open now.
I say some nice annoying plays for Minnesota, but they get caught off. Paris, as you said, Study, they'll hop right into the point. They're 2 ticks through, 1 more away from finding their opening offense. Minnesota, can they get to the point in time? Attach is the only player who can do so, but the crossfire coming in from Zig is going to lock him up as Paris keep the momentum going.
Oh, man, they're aggressive. Their aggression right now is on point. You can just tell the momentum is definitely in their favor. Classic right here is making tremendous plays, able to open up a 2-piece in kitchen, eventually closing out the 3rd on a Major Maniac. But they get that B point nice and early, man. If you're Minnesota, you need to be able to counter that, not give that up right off the rip. Trying to hold that A site is a pretty difficult task to get done. And Minnesota, unfortunately, they're going to find themselves down 0-1 on this map number 3. Going into their offense, let's see if they're going to try to mimic what the Legion just did. Trying to work towards that early B point. This looks like they're committing towards A.
On defense, it can be a struggle. It can be a problematic spot. Classic, Fire, all of them responding early. They've got to be hyped. Let's go to the Astro Gaming listen-in with the Paris Legion.
Bottom right. Let me know if you need help. I remember. Blue, let me know if you need help. I got you.
Yeah, they just one-shot me again. They're playing you guys again.
Driveway. Nice. 2. Z dead. I got him. Where's Z, Nick? He got away. Pretty close streaks. Yo, I'm getting bottom right. Yeah.
I flashed him back, guys.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Let me dead.
Bottom right. That was the guy's Zig.
Bottom right, dead.
Nice, good job. Just keep holding.
Priest should be ramp.
Yep.
I just go down. He's just spawned.
He's white man in north. I give him mid.
2 ramp.
I'll pick up
Ramp 2. I have streaks. Kill this guy.
Spawning there again. Left guy.
Left guy. I have an artillery. Let him touch A. I have an artillery.
There's only one guy on it. I got him. One ramp. Right band.
Are you blocking benches?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Push me pillars.
I'm streaking this.
Okay. I'm gonna hold.
2-8.
We hear really kind of toward the end of that listen, and RØKKR says, hey, I'm going to go and call in the streaks up early. Legion looking so dominant in this round 2 of Control here, Study. Minnesota just currently in a world of pain, trying to make their way off of spawn, but it has been Paris, Legion. We continue to say it for a reason. These guys are turning up in the respawns, and the rookie especially is putting an exclamation point here on Raid.
Oh, man, just looking at the improvement that these guys have made from stage 1 to stage 2, it's showing, man, in every single game mode. They clutch up in that search and destroy. We were talking about it. And the Control, how Raid in general was not a good map for them for every single game mode. And so far, they are getting the job done. RØKKR got a nice set of streaks right there to keep them off the point. But if you're Minnesota RØKKR, someone needs to spring life. Someone needs to give that spark for this team in order to fight back in this series. Their backs are completely against the wall. Paris Legion have every single piece of momentum on their side. If you're Minnesota, you just got to do it, man. It's going to look at accuracy.
Who does the player have to be for Minnesota, straight up?
It has to be Priesta. It has to be Priesta, especially with that submachine gun, how aggressive that the players from Paris Legion are really setting right off the rip as they get 4 down. But they just didn't have any good stats across the board. 4 and 11 for one player, 3 and 11 for the other. Major Maniac currently at 5 and 12. Just not keeping up in the slaying department, man. They're currently up by 4 lives. And they're doing a better job so far on this defensive hold. But can they withstand the pushes from the Paris Legion once again? 2 are going to go down. And now you're going to see Minnesota trying to just play their lives in kitchen. Because now you see players working towards that A point. That's going to be the first tick at A. It's going to spawn all the players from Minnesota RØKKR towards that back rock. And they're also working at B as well.
This is just great work across the map. Well, they've got 2 players over at A, 2 players over at B, and they're constantly gaining over in these points. What, 1 tick left now over at A? That's like, great. Okay, cool, Minnesota. You got the clearance over at B. But again, Paris, they've got a lot of that work done. They get a tick through at B. That's big. They now also are going to have 2 minutes to work with. Granted, live count not in their hands, but Minnesota, that early start, what you need to see from this team. And again, as you kind of look through the stats right now, it hasn't been great, but this could be the moment. This is Paris's first break opportunity toward the backside. Great team shots. Fire's able to walk away with the kill. Current 3 spree for him. The presence trying to be gained inside of that kitchen position, but they're just going to walk right in. There's nobody actually sitting inside of money. Major Maniac has to go big. Only a few shots left in the clip, and the AR shots from the top side. Accuracy finally is able to get inside of money. That first push, nice hold from RØKKR.
Yeah, they were able to shut down that push. I thought Fire was making tremendous plays going through basketball court. But unfortunately, Major Maniac was able to answer with a huge 2-piece to just keep the players from the Legion off. Now, it's all about trying to hold them once again. Major's in a great position to try to take down both, but he's going to get traded by Scraps. And his Classic going to be able to spot Accuracy on these steps. He's going to walk right by. Accuracy is not going to be able to spot him either, but here comes the shots from Accuracy, able to give him positioning. 2 are going to drop. Now Minnesota have to try to fight through middle map. Here comes the second tick for Paris Legion. Both players are trying to come down from the steps. Major Maniac's going to be the only one in a position to try to get towards the point. They're almost going to do this, Lando. It's going to be a clean 3-0 if they can just stop this one more push from the Minnesota RØKKR.
Classic, he gets so much work done on the objective because Accuracy doesn't spot him, but Accuracy has to go big again. He ends up getting dropped as well. So 40 seconds left, and you're looking at that B point. Classic with the flank. This could be the play. This could be the play. 3 go down. Last member alive is going to be Accuracy toward the basketball court. He drops as well. And how about the sweep from Legion, winning the Control 3-0 and getting their second sweep in the CDL. The RØKKR crumble as the Legion ultimately are showing so much improvements. And this is kind of the thing that we talked about starting to start off the day. It was like, hey, you know, how are teams going to improve from stage 1 to stage 2? Paris, they improved in the S&Ds. The raid respawns are looking better. Minnesota on the other side, not closing out S&Ds, not winning hard points. A much different kind of vibe and a much different feel when you talk about a 3-0 like that.
Yeah, man, definitely. If you're Minnesota RØKKR, this one's going to sting, man. You lose that Search and Destroy, which is your best game mode, and eventually you drop the series down 0-3. But if you're the Paris Legion, hats off to you guys, man. Unbelievable work has to be getting done in the backfield for these guys when you talk about the coaching, when you talk about prepping for these matches. And it definitely has showed, man, these guys fall all the way back in that search and destroy. We were talking about it in the keys to victory, how they need to completely remove raid from all their game modes. And they get it done here, man, in 2 different raids on a hardpoint and a control in a complete dominant fashion. That control wasn't even close. They had the momentum. They dominated every single round. Classic was going huge off of every pinch. But it was all on Scraps. It was all on Aqua with those assault rifles, really setting up those submachine gun players, man. Just a phenomenal series from top to bottom from the Legion.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I think it was the round 2 where we go to the listen in, and Legion. I mean, they could not be stopped. Like they were just. They just had a point to prove, I guess, when it came down to this raid control. Again, a team that we talk about in the respawns, we kind of talked about in hardpoint especially. Hey, you know what? Garrison's kind of been their strong suit. Minnesota get rid of it, and they're able to prove everybody wrong. Just this team has been so good at certain stretches. I know they don't perform well when it comes down to the stage 1 major, but again, that's a statement game, right? That is a statement victory early on in stage 1, or excuse me, in stage 2. They obviously have that happen in stage 1 as well, but I guess when you look at the other side for Minnesota, it's just it hurts, man. It definitely hurts. Let's go ahead and revisit, obviously, that last game with our scuff play of the game. We'll kind of revisit exactly what we witnessed over in that control. And it really kind of comes down to these final sequences in all 3 of these round study. Legion clutching up and going big when it matters most.
Yeah, so you see it right off the rip. This is the very first round of the map. They take that B control, which is really difficult task to get done, especially the way that they did it. And once they eliminate that, they force all the players from the RØKKR to spawn out towards Waterside, towards back basketball. Trying to flood them over through that middle pillars is pretty difficult task to get done. And even on their defensive hold, they didn't give up a single tick on any one of these points, man. It was just complete dominant from start to finish. You heard in the comms, I was like, Scraps, are you canceling that bedroom spawn? Are you making sure that someone is pushed up all the way towards that left street so no one has that ability to push up towards B? And in that very last round, it just came down to Fire. You see Fire in the position that he's in. He was able to stay alive just enough time to set up Classic to get this 2-piece. Eventually, he gets the 3rd. That's going to be 3 down from Minnesota. All of them spawning out towards back. Laundry, fortunately, at that point, it was too late, man. Like I said, Paris Legion, they just came out to play, man, and it definitely showed.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Everybody kind of had their moments. We talked about the rookie making the big plays. Everybody kind of stepping up when they needed to. And again, it's the statement victory early on. When we talk about these games, when you're in these early groups, it is important.
You absolutely hate to see it, Icon. Tough scenes after that extremely, crazy comeback on the Search and Destroy Miami, down 2-5. Paris Legion comeback, win it, and then just, I don't know if the momentum just went from Miami right over to raid control, but there was just no shot. RØKKR was winning with the way the Paris Legion was playing. They're playing really well and just couldn't seem to get it together. Is there, what can you kind of point out for the viewers that's kind of a way to understand, how do we just unravel that bad? Is it Slain? Is it where we're at on the map? What happened?
I think it's got to be momentum based, because when it came to that 3rd map, that raid control, nobody played well. It was just all over the map. They were losing all of their team gun battles. I think everybody was negative 5, 6, 7. Most of the time you get an attach that comes out and goes 25 and 18, or accuracy pops off, or somebody comes out and plays well. And I just think, that first map, Classic gets a 2-piece in that raid hardpoint over at basketball court, swings it about a 40-point swing there. And then you're up 5-2 in the search and you don't end up closing out. It's just it felt like 2 maps that if you just make 1 or 2 plays, you end up going up 2-0 instead of being down 0-2. And then you go into the raid control, and you could hear in the listen in that Paris was fired up. I mean, you could just, you could sense the intensity in their comms, and they were just on point. And at some point in time, you have to make the plays. And in that control, the play that stood out to me was Classic hitting the flank through mid-map, getting the 2-piece from Money. And as soon as he did that, there was nobody else to contest over at that point any longer. And it was a wrap. So I think that 3rd map, it's tough to point to any one thing. It was a beatdown, and I think it was just majorly based off of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see. The first match is stage 2. You're going up against Paris, who, they're kind of ranked in the middle of the league, just like you are. So you're like, okay, this is our chance to bounce back, and then we just can't. You hate to see it. I mean, I guess if you're trying to find a silver lining here, tomorrow's match just got a lot more interesting. When I first looked at the stage 2 split schedule, I thought, okay, Paris and Florida, those are our 2 matches this week. That's a kind of a good way, as you mentioned at the start of the broadcast, like this is kind of a good way to put some wind in your sails in stage 2 right away. So we don't get the wind in our sails today. We end up taking the L to Paris Legion. Good games to them. But now we're going up against Florida tomorrow, who actually also lost their first match of the stage. They lost to Seattle Surge. So, you could call that an upset for sure. Surge has not been doing well since forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're finally coming to life. You've got Paris, who, I mean, I did say, like, yes, they're better than their record. They do play the games that they play, like, very close. But even if you start to look at that Surge comeback and then the Control hardpoint, that wasn't even close, man. That was tough to watch. So now you've got 2 teams tomorrow in Florida and Minnesota RØKKR where they both just took L's that they probably think they shouldn't have. And it's going to be real interesting to see who comes out with the fire, who's able to bounce back legitimately tomorrow. So, Icon, I guess, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, man. I don't even want to talk about the Paris match anymore. We talked about all the maps. I guess give me one main takeaway from today, and then we can talk a tiny bit about the match Florida tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we've touched on. You have to clutch up, and it just feels like all of these matches, and it's not just this one. It's basically every match. You can point to like 1 or 2 super important gunfights that went down that swings the momentum in one team's favor, and you could point at even all 3 of these maps, except for maybe the Control. But like the Raid Hardpoint, it was the classic 2-piece, and the Miami S&D, it was not pushing towards B fast enough. It's just like all of these games come down to 1 or 2 of those super important gunfights, and it just didn't go Minnesota's way today. So it is what it is. You have to put it behind you because it doesn't get any easier here over the next week or so.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'd say, being that Florida lost to Surge yesterday, then Florida hasn't looked like the same Florida, this year so far either. So I guess if you're looking at any of our other remaining matches in this hell group that we have, Florida's the one you'd want to play after an L, but you said it. I mean, it's going to be tough. Florida's out for blood too. They've not been playing well either. It's kind of a battle of like, no, like this isn't who we are. We need to prove it. And that's going to be what tomorrow's match is about. So I'm actually really nervous. I'm not going to lie. We both came on broadcast like, yeah, they're going to 3-0 them probably. Excited for the match tomorrow. What a reality check we just got. I hope that the guys are all right. It's tough to come out after, so much practice, so much preparation coming into stage 2, and then you come out, you just don't play your best. They're just clearly, like you said, they didn't have the clutch factor today, and even when they didn't and things became tough, they weren't able to battle their way back strategically either. So hopefully one or both of those things can change for tomorrow. I'm excited for the match. The Florida versus RØKKR match tomorrow will be at the same time, same place, with the same faces. You can see us again tomorrow. The match is scheduled for 3:30, so it should be at about the same time. I believe we're the second match of the day. I'm trying to see, do you know who plays first tomorrow? Is it Optic?
I do not, actually. Let me look it up.
I'm gonna look real quick too. So we play tomorrow at allegedly 3:30. Yes, it is after. So Optic and Paris Legion kick off the broadcast tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time, and then Florida versus RØKKR will play at 3:30 Central Time or after the end of the Optic and Paris match. So we'll be live tomorrow. Plan for 3:30, but if the Optic match ends sooner, we're on. If the Optic match goes longer, that's when we're on. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Icon. Shout out Icon. Thanks for doing this with me. And I'm Ashley, aka Midnight. It's been real. It's been fun. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be more fun. We'll see you guys then.